So what I try and get athletes to do is to differentiate between the two. So once, twice a week, depending upon their individual recovery and what other activities they're doing that are involved with their sport, is go in and do a session that is specifically dedicated to improving their physiological fitness. So doing it in the most efficient way possible, doing it in a way that's measurable as well, because that's one of the real benefits of doing simple high-intensity training, single sets to failure, is it's very easy to control and measure your progress as you go through. So you know if you're getting stronger. And then, you know, add in the specific sports conditioning you need to do. So if there are specific skills that you need to work on, then you have a session for that. Ideally, if you're going to be doing skill conditioning and kind of, you know, this idea of sport-specific kind of physical conditioning, because let's face it, going 10 rounds in boxing or whatever, you know, you can be as fit as you like, but you may not be able to go 10 rounds, you know, with Mike Tyson or whatever, because your movements are inefficient, because your skill's very poor, so you're wasting energy. Psychologically, you're not with it. So you will need to do those sorts of things in your training as well to improve the other variables. It just so happens that they also, you know, induce a fitness effect as well, but you're not doing them with the explicit objective of improving that. It just happens to be a byproduct, which allows you to then go into other training sessions which are specifically dedicated to improving your physiological fitness. And then at the end result is you've not tried to amalgamate the two and got a poor result from either. You've done a program which is effective and efficient for this aspect. You've done a program which is effective and efficient for this aspect, and then when you come to actually perform your sport, you take the best of both worlds and apply it then, instead of trying to amalgamate them in a session.
Yeah, that's kind of the approach I'm taking at the moment, like going to the gym, like say maybe twice a week. Yeah. And also doing circuit training, boxing, probably about once or twice a week. Well.
Yeah, perhaps. I wouldn't necessarily. A lot of the kind of boxing circuit training is, in my opinion, a little bit of a waste of time anyway, because it's kind of trying to amalgamate the two. You know, boxing is a difficult thing to train anyway, because the most specific you can get in terms of training boxing skill is getting in the ring and fighting someone. You know, sparring is not the same as fighting with someone. So it's difficult to kind of fit that in. When I was working with them, I was working with a coach, and I would do the physical conditioning and try to get him to kind of avoid going in with the idea of, okay, I'm going to do a circuit training session, you know, get them to do some punches and kicks here, rotating round things. Instead, I would say, right, you know, try and get them working on, you know, whatever it is, you know, a specific movement, a specific skill, you know, in this session, and don't try and mix things up, because it only confuses the athletes. Does that answer your question?
Yep, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi. I have more a question of lower back questions, a bit off topic.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, that's fine.
But I guess you're the one to ask to.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm doing the high intensity resistance training, and I'm now at the moment when I do a leg press. The weights I'm pushing away are 2.5 my body weight. Okay. So I'm kind of asking what does it mean for the injury of my lower back, of the risk of injury to the lower back?
On a leg press?
Yes, on a leg press. Okay,
well, depending upon which leg press you're using and how it's set up and how you're actually performing it on there, you should in theory be pushing the load, or the load should be going through your hips and not actually being put through your back. So as opposed to, for example, if you're doing a squat where you've got the load atop your spine, which means that there is a load being transmitted through there. There will inevitably be some tension across the lower back, because what we call the thoracolumbar fascia, which runs from the kind of hips up through the lower back. Any tension in the hamstrings or in the glutes from performing the leg press will induce a tension in there, but there shouldn't be any direct load on there. So, I mean, do you get back pain when you're doing the leg press at all? Or are you just concerned about whether or not there is any risk?
So it's not while doing the leg press, but I do have like pain, but not. And I don't think it's a pain of injury, but more of muscle stress after the training. You know, like when you have that.
So it feels like there's been some tension and work there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit concerned from, I don't want to injure it.
I always, whenever I'm working with clients, because obviously my research at the moment is I'm working with people with chronic lower back pain, and I try to get them to differentiate between the feelings of discomfort during and after exercise, DOMS, which we call it, delayed onset of muscular soreness, and whether or not there is actually any pain, because most people's pain that they experience if they've got low back pain feels distinctly different to what they experience during exercise. So what I would try to do is differentiate between the two. Also, what you've got to consider is some of the aches that you get during or after exercise may not be muscular. Bill DeSimone's stuff on from Moment on Exercise and Congruent Exercise is really good on emphasizing loading the muscles as opposed to loading the passive ligaments, so the bones and the tendons and whatnot. So sometimes what can happen is, and a lot of people complain of ache in the back during deadlifts or good mornings or other kind of lower back exercises. Well, the research actually shows that any of those exercises are pretty poor at loading and increasing the strength of the lower back muscles specifically. So it's partly speculative, but my belief is it's probably more of a tension and an ache that you can feel across the fascia, the thoracolumbar fascia across that area, which it potentially could in the long term turn into a kind of wear and tear injury. But as there's no direct heavy loading going through it, I wouldn't be concerned with a severe injury going, although that doesn't mean that it can't happen. But the most important thing is looking at your setup on the leg press and making sure that the load is being transmitted through your hips as opposed to be going through your back. And then you can be sure that any tension you feel in your lower back is most likely due to the contractions from the hamstrings and the glutes. Okay. We got time? One more. Cool. Hey.
What are your views on training with your own body weight versus training with using weights?
What are my views on body weight training versus, say, resistance machines or barbells, etc.?
Yeah.
Any other methods?
Yeah.
My views at the moment are the tool you use is far less important than what you do with it. So you can train effectively and produce essentially the same adaptations as you could do using the most high-tech tool available, which I'm led to believe by Anthony is the Arx Fit at the moment. I've yet to try it, and but the adaptations that you produce, the benefits you get from it, as in produced from as a training effect, are largely no different between methods as long as you follow the right recommendations and apply those methods to whatever tool it is you're using. And that's something that we highlight in our earlier paper from last year in the evidence-based resistance training recommendations is comparisons, for example, between free weights and machines show that there's no real difference in strength adaptations as long as you use the right sort of measures to look at that. But there are obviously benefits from using There's benefits to using bodyweight exercises, i.e. you don't need to go anywhere to do them special, you don't need to pay for a gym membership or have any high-tech equipment. So they're perfect for using, if you're traveling or whatever. In fact, Chris Hycock's blogger from Conditioning Research has got a really good book, Hill Fit, which incorporates, simple exercises, and the importance is, how you apply those exercises. There are also benefits, from using resistance machines in terms of time efficiency as compared to free weights, for example, and the greater ability to apply a progressive protocol, i.e. to increase the resistance you're using as you improve in strength, and also to more accurately measure your progress, and then that goes all the way to the other end of using MEDEX medical testing equipment, where you can very accurately measure your strength of an isolated musculature to the real-time feedback you get during an Arx Fit session. But my belief is it doesn't matter if you don't have access to the most high-tech equipment. The most important thing is how you use it. If you've got access to really high-tech equipment, then use it. It's more a little bit for the novelty as well, because I'm a bit of a geek and I like playing with new toys, just to kind of see what they're like. But that's less important than what you actually do with it. No worries. I think that's everything. If anyone else has got any questions, then I'm going to be around for the rest of the day, probably till 5 or 6 o'clock. So I'm happy to chat with anyone throughout the rest of the day. Thanks for listening, guys.